Okay, just coming into Blakeney now, and Blakeney's famous, well it's not really famous, but it's noted because it's got a massive sand spit on the bit of coast here. I think it might be the biggest sand spit in Europe, I'm not sure. But anyway, it even shows up on maps. I'll try and find a map for you. And it's great for walking out if you're, again, interested in bird watching. It's a great place to go and watch birds of the feathered variety. There's a key here as well. I think I might just turn down there and have a look, see if I can get a view. A little bit tight down here. Thank you. Oh, pub. Must have that lunch at some point. Folks. Here we are. Very much like Wells, actually. You'd expect. Very bleak. These Norfolk coastal places. Very exposed to the North Sea and the winds. Right, according to the onboard technology, 8 miles to Sheringham, and that lunch I've been promising myself for hours now. It'll be supper time soon. Okay, this is another one of those towns from my childhood. This is Cley, or sometimes people call it Clay, C-L-E-Y. But I'm pretty sure the locals pronounce it Cley. There's a windmill here as well, but I'm not quite sure where it is. Just see the sails over that building. But sadly, I don't think I'm going to get it on the GoPro. Still one windmill, so no more. Thank you, Carl. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. So, even less to Cley than there was to Blakeney. And another of these windswept landscapes that characterises the North Norfolk coast. Ah, I lose the Qashqai, thank goodness. Been stuck behind far too many Qashqais for my liking today. Okay, so we're only about 3 or 4 miles now from Sheringham, which is where I'm hoping to find somewhere to have a spot of lunch. And Sheringham is notable for a couple of things. I guess the thing that it's most notable for is it has a little railway line there. I think it runs up to Holt, which is a good run. You can obviously buy touristy tickets and have a ride on it. But the reason I mention it is I think I'm right in saying it was used in a James Bond film many moons ago. I can't remember which film it was. I just seem to remember it was a Roger Moore one, and I only vaguely remember that because I remember it being in the papers when it was being filmed many years ago, and I used to live in Norfolk. So that's one of the things Sheringham's famous for, its railway line. And the other thing, which is more interesting to me, is it's also the location for one of the World War II Y stations. Now I don't know if you've ever heard of the Y system. I don't know too much about it, but I think I'm right in saying the Y system was a system of radio beams that allowed aircraft to triangulate their position. Oh, here's what's called the Muckleborough Collection, which is a tank museum effectively. Anyway, I digress. So yes, so this Y system, I think it had 2 radio stations, one here in Sheringham and one on the very southeastern coast in Kent, I think. And by sending a high power radio beam from each of those locations across Europe, bombers were able to locate and pinpoint their targets by making sure they're on the point where those 2 beams crossed, and that was called Y. I'm pretty sure that's what it was all about. And anyway, one of those beam stations was here in Sheringham, so it's one of our wartime secrets. I don't think there's anything left of that or anything you can see of it now. It's just of interest that it was located here, obviously to give a good degree of separation from the Kent-based one, so that they could be quite accurate. I might be completely wrong with all that. I seem to remember going to a talk at the Flying Club, and I think that's what it was covered. Anyway, I'm sure somebody will correct me if I'm wrong. Amazing view off here of the sun, of the sea rather. Wish it was of the sun. It's clouded over quite a bit now. But not too cold, perfect temperature really for riding. It's about 15-16 degrees now, and it's early October. coming into Sheringham now. Time to find me some lunch. No idea where I'm going. Sheringham's a much bigger place than I thought. Okay, so another lap just as the steam train pulls in. Hope you can see that on the camera. That's the steam train I was talking about. The I believe it's called the Poppy Line. It runs to Holt. A splendid train. You know, that sort of thing. So I managed to find myself a little cafe in Sheringham and had a very health conscious lunch. Splendid. And now ready for the final leg of the tour. It takes me to Cromer, which gives this Cromer Loop its name, and then through the Norfolk Broads, or part of it, and then back to Norwich. So nearly done now. Weather looks like it's going to stay dry, not quite as bright as I'd hoped, but there we are. So while I was eating my lunch, I did a little bit of research on those what I said were World War II Y stations that were used in the war, and in fact I was completely wrong. What they were direction finding stations, and there weren't just 2 of them in the country, they were all over the country. There were about 25-30 of these stations, and they weren't just used in World War II either, they were used in World War I and World War II, and they were used purely as direction finding for things like submarines. So incredible, much more powerful than I thought. But anyway, there were various of those Y stations dotted around, one of which was between Sheringham and Cromer, which is where I am now. So Cromer itself, of course, is famous for a couple of things. Well, firstly and most famous, of course, is for Cromer crabs. Let's have a little look down there, which are sort of famous throughout the UK. You can get Cromer crabs advertised sometimes. So there must be a bumper crop. And in fact, crab fishing is one of its major industries still. The other thing I know about Cromer is that it's got a pier. In fact, it's just down there. I can just see it on the left. See if I can get a view. Down there, look, in that windswept area, there's the pier with the Pavilion Theatre on the end of it. And I mentioned earlier that when I was at 6th form, I used to have a summer job with the BBC, and one of those, in fact I'm going to pull in here, one of those jobs entailed me climbing underneath that theatre with a load of cables so that we could do an outside broadcast from into that pier. What fun. Right, where am I going? Yeah, I spent many a happy hour on the end of that pier, holding a couple of leads together to make sure that the afternoon outside broadcast went out okay. Happy days. A splendid church here in Cromer. And again, a bit like Sheringham, a fairly major town. And a great place if you like crab. I'm not a big fan personally. So this is the point on the Cromer Loop route that we start to head inland, having done the coastal road now, which was a lovely ride and quite unique landscape down there, very windswept, and nothing really like it that I know of elsewhere in the UK beach-wise. It's quite like that. Well worth having a ride up if you're able to. So now we're heading inland towards North Walsham and towards part of the Norfolk Broads. So this road that takes us to North Walsham and then into the Broads at Stalham is the A149. It's the first properly fast road that we've had for a long time on this route. So it's nice just to open her up a bit. Until we reach the inevitable traffic hold-up. Oh wow, Ford Capri. Where's that? Check that out. Oh, it's the 2-litre laser model. Seem to remember that was a part that's been special towards the end of the run, when they threw all the extras at it and charged you a bit less. Who doesn't love a Ford Capri, eh? Look at that. Classic. Rather too many fluffy animals in the back for my liking, but a great car. Of course, it's not the 2.8i, which is the one that everybody wanted. Anyway, I digress. So just exiting North Walsham now, en route to Stalham. So this is the A149, which is could be a nice fast road, but it's got 50 mile an hour average speed check cameras along here, so we're not going to test them, we'll just assume they're working. And this now is sort of the edge of the Norfolk Broads, and they're sort of scattered around here. The Broads being man-made pits dug out in Anglo-Saxon times, I think mainly for the purposes of peat, and then the land flooded and created these big lake-like structures which we call Broads. Okay, this is Stalham itself, and I only know Stalham from years ago when I was a lad in Norfolk. We used to come to fishing matches here. There's a boatyard at Stalham, and we used to have fishing matches there at ridiculous times of the morning. This knows what I was thinking. I used to go with my dad at about 4 in the morning in freezing cold weather. They always seem to always be in like February or something. We very rarely caught anything, but anyway, we loved it. Okay, I'm going down this way. The next place I want to show you is where I used to go on my holidays, believe it or not. Hope you can see me okay. Weather's taken a slight turn for the worse, and the rain's just being a bit more persistent now. Anyway, when I were a lad, back in the 1970s and early 80s, up until when I was a teenager, you didn't go on exotic foreign holidays like you do now. Instead, I used to live, as I said, in South Norfolk, and we used to come on holiday up this road at a place called Sea Palling, which was just a seaside place. Not much there except for a really lovely sandy beach, a campsite with caravans, and that's where we'd go and spend our week's holiday, and we look forward to it big time. And me and my sister used to think it was great, and it's kind of unbelievable now, isn't it? As I say, I was up to when I was about a teenager, and when I think I've got my own kids now who are teenagers, I just cannot ever see them accepting going to Sea Palling for a week as their summer holiday, when I think the places that they've been already, and they're only just 16. They've been all over the world on exotic holidays, several a year usually. They're very lucky. Anyway, that's not their fault that they're very lucky. Back then in the 70s, this is what you did, and I've got very happy memories of this place. The sun always shone, the fish and chips were super tasty, and the sand in your sandwiches on the beach just added to it. Anyway, let's see if I can find the little village that I suspect it is that is Sea Palling. And I'm not being gratuitously indulgent here, by the way. This is on the route in the book. Simon Weir recommends this as a part of the Cromer Loop. Hello, sir. Somebody else doing the Cromer Loop, but in the other direction. The chip shop used to be down here, I'm sure. Shall I head this way to the beach? Why not? Okay, and then the beach itself is over that. There's a bit of a raise there, which I can't ride up, which actually takes you onto the beach. This was the centre of my holiday world. It's just bananas to think of now, but that was the case. Okay, so that's memory lane travel down. Excuse me for my indulgence there. Just regaining the route now, back on the Cromer Loop. And the next thing I want to take you to is, well, a little place called Horsey. And it's quite a nice little spot, and I'll show you why hopefully in a second. Okay, so this is Horsey, and the reason I want to show you this is because there's actually a mill here, but I've got a feeling it's undergoing refurbishment at the moment, so it ain't going to be as spectacular as I'd hoped. Again, I remember this from my childhood. There's a mill here, again it's called Horsey Mill, but actually it's a wind pump to control the Broads and to help irrigation. Here we go. Oh yeah, the sails are gone. What a shame. Now, ever since I've been aware of this place, this windmill here, it's had spectacular sails on it, but not at the moment, which is typical. But anyway, there we go. That's Horsey Mill, which normally looks amazing. And then down here, and this is a National Trust site, it's a place called Horsey Mere. And a mere is a name that in the Norfolk Broads they give to what you and I would call a lake or a pit. I don't think I'm going to be able to see it on my bike, but it's a big lake basically that links up with the Broads and the river system that links all the Broads together. And Norfolk Wherries, which is a particular type of sail ship, used to be seen on it. In fact, they still sail them on there today. But unfortunately, it's a walk down a long footpath, so I can't show you it on the bike. So that was a wholly unsatisfactory trip to Horseymere and Mill. Apologies. But I noticed they've got some facilities here, so I'm going to make the most of those while I'm here. Speak to you in a moment. Right, cheerio Horsey. I'll see you when your sails are on and you're working again. Altogether more impressive then. Right, so we're nearly done with the Cromer Loop now, having left Horsey. I'm just going to loop through this little bit of Norfolk, through a place called Ludham, which is again on the Norfolk Broads, another place I used to go to fishing matches as a child, but that's by the by. And then the last place really to show you is Wroxham, which is kind of the heart of the Norfolk Broads really. Quite a touristy spot, but lovely area. You can sort of hire boats there, and there's Broads there and all that sort of caper, so I'm hoping I might be able to find an ice cream van if I'm not too late in the day for one of those. And then from Wroxham it's back to Norwich and the tour's done. So stick around, stay tuned for a little bit longer. I'll show you Wroxham and then we're done for another on the book. Quick blast on the A149. Pass this car, we've got a chance. This I think is Potter Heigham Bridge. May be wrong. No, this is definitely. This is again, believe it or not, a key part of the Broads. More boatyards and a bit of tourist tat. So this is the A1062. I've just passed a sign saying that this was the rural route, which makes it sound nice. And this is the village of Ludham that I mentioned. Again, boatyards, fishing, that sort of thing. Pubs as well, by the looks of it. This way, yes. Tea rooms, excellent. Any place that's got a tea rooms is good by me. To Ludham Bridge, another little spot on the Broads where lots of boats pull up and do their thing. Nice. So I'm just coming into the town of Hovton now, which is right next door to Wroxham and kind of merges with it really. And these towns sit right on the river, so there's a marina here for boats and there's lots of shops. They're all owned by this guy called Roy's of Wroxham. I suppose it was a Mr. Roy, I don't know. But anyone who lives in Norfolk has heard of Roy's of Wroxham. But the slightly funny thing about it, I find, is that all the shops, although they're called Roy's of Wroxham, they're actually all in Hovton, because Wroxham I think is over the bridge. So it should be Roy's of Hovton, but anyway. Things you learn, eh? I'm hoping I'll get to give you a bit of a view over the bridge. It's usually very busy here, from what I recall. So I might struggle to give you much of a view, but here we go, we're coming into the town where Roy's is. You can see on the right here the first of his mighty commercial empire. Roy's, there is big old department store thing. There are shops left and right called Roy's, and this is actually Hovton, even though it's called Roy's of Wroxham. This is Wroxham Bridge, which I think is one that might even lift, I'm not sure. It's got a very sort of distinctive up, straight down thing going on. There we go, a bit of a view there. It's very nice actually, Wroxham, if you're on the river itself and on a boat, and I've done a few holidays on the Broads. I haven't really given you a flavour of it on this tour at all, because you've not seen any significant water really. But when you're actually on the Broads touring them, it's a lovely, lovely part of the country, and it looks completely different to what I've shown you on this bike tour. Norfolk by road is not the same as Norfolk by waterway. Anyway, that's with the Wroxham done, that's pretty much it for this Cromer Loop. Big old ride, about 145 miles. I've been on the road today since 20 past 10, and it's now 3:45 in the afternoon. And I haven't stopped that much, but I've enjoyed it. It's been unusual because it's a part of the world that I know because of my childhood, but I've not sort of been here much as an adult, and certainly not in North Norfolk, so very interesting. Not a ride I think I would bring a sports bike on. It's more of a sort of a naked bike or an adventure bike, like something like this, the BMW. Great for that, and obviously you can catch it when the weather's good, so much the better. But there we are, so a thumbs up again for Simon Weir and the book Bikers Britain, published by the AA. I've nothing to do with them, by the way. I just happen to have the books. They did send me the second one for free, because I had talked about the first one. But I just enjoyed doing the rides, and I've got a few more to do yet, so look forward to speaking to you next time. Until then, this has been the Messenden Flyer. Cheerio.